Ethereum is not having a great time right now. Let's have a look at the data on-chain. Let's have a look at on-chain activity, how many transactions, how many active users are there, what's the relative valuation to Bitcoin. Let's try to find out where Ethereum might be going from here. And for that, let's have a look at the macro picture. As in, how is Ethereum's activity developing over the cycles? How much growth is there still? Here is the transactions on the Ethereum chain over time. There was massive growth up until 2018. Then we had our crypto winter. Then we had our recovery. From the 2018 peak to the 2021 peak, we maybe grew by another 50%. But since then, there isn't that much activity growth, at least directly on Ethereum. This is not relating to the various layer 2s like Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, etc. Now, the number of active addresses looks very similar. Just compare those two, the number of transactions and the number of active addresses. Pretty much zero growth in the last 3 years. And so this then also explains why the Ethereum price itself doesn't see that much growth in the last 3 years. Let's have a look at our imaginary line over here. It's questionable how much value it has, but still it's interesting to look at. There is a potential risk relative to the US dollar for Ethereum to drop by roughly 37% to $1,880. That's of course the bearish scenario, but let's have a look at more on-chain data first. What we've got over here is how much value is being transacted on Ethereum every single day. And this spikes up massively during a bull run. There was a day where more than 20 billion worth of assets were transferred. Then this collapsed to nothingness in the bear market because there's two effects here, right? On the one hand, there's less activity as in less transactions are being made, but also the prices go down at the same time. That together compounded leads to a crash like this. But then we had our recovery with a peak in the middle of 2021. That was roughly over here. And the price since then went down by maybe 30% or so. The value that's being transacted every day went down by more than that, by 2/3. So there is a real effect here that Ethereum is also used as a store of value to a degree as a competitor to Bitcoin. It's not just the on-chain activity that's moving the prices. That being said, Bitcoin still has more demand, especially by the traditional finance guys, mainly, of course, through the ETF. And so then, of course, we see the average transaction fees spiking when there is a lot of activity, but we could really see how Ethereum got bottlenecked in the 2022 run. The transaction fee spike was way smaller in 2018, while the number of transactions actually didn't change that much. And I believe the reason for that bottlenecking, for this shooting up of transaction prices, is mainly the usage of DeFi. As in, the number of transactions might have not increased that much, but the complexity of transactions did. And so it's a bottlenecking of computing capacity. And that hasn't really changed up until today. Using Ethereum is still super expensive. And that's why Ethereum's market share in the general blockchain space tends to be declining. Here, have a look at this chart. What once was more than 90% of market share of total value locked of DeFi declined pretty consistently for Ethereum down to less than 50%. And now we're pretty much at that level. 57% is the market dominance of total value locked on the Ethereum chain. Now we are all interested in where the price might be going. The US dollar price, of course, but also the relative performance to, for example, Bitcoin. How did this develop since the merge, since the change from proof of work to proof of stake? And what's the potential upside versus downside from here? Now, the first thing that I find somewhat worrying is how much of all of Ethereum supply is still in profit, because you want to be buying when a lot of people are not in profit, right? You want to be buying the crashes. For example, this year is the Corona crash. 75% of people had been in losses at the time. You don't want to necessarily buy when a lot of people are in profit. Right now, it seems that still roughly 90% or so are still in profit. So that's potentially not that pretty, right? At some point, people might take that profit, might realize that profit, and then of course the price will go down. So I believe this is the natural state of things, right? When a lot of people are in losses, then people might simply just hold on to their asset, hope for a recovery. But when most people are 2 or 3x in profit, then you simply want to rebalance your portfolio, right? You want to potentially take some chips off the table and maybe move some of the Ethereum gains into Bitcoin or into stocks or into, let's say, the down payment of a house. You simply want to diversify. You do want to de-risk a bit. And we are still in that situation where a lot of people could still be inclined to take that profit. Now here's Ethereum relative to Bitcoin. So this is ETH USDT divided by BTC USDT. ETH relative to Bitcoin. The arrow over here shows the merge. So that's a change from proof of work to proof of stake. Since then, unfortunately, Ethereum underperformed Bitcoin by 40%. Now we had been in a sideways trading range since May of 2021, and we are relatively low on that sideways trading range. The question is this still a support? Are we still holding over here and go back up? Or are we going to see the lows of September 2019? This was in the middle of a bear market. So if things turn out really poorly, we could see another underperformance versus Bitcoin of 67%. If things turn out the positive way, the upside is plus 73%. So somewhat of a balanced situation. The question is, what will drive Ethereum demand? If there is no Ethereum ETF, but there is already a Bitcoin ETF, and if that adoption of the Bitcoin ETF continues to grow, then the relative performance of Ethereum to Bitcoin might not be too positive in the future. But still, it makes sense to watch this chart very, very closely. Here's a similar metric. This is Ethereum dominance. So this looks at all of crypto, how much of all of the market cap of crypto is in Ethereum, and that's currently at 16.5% roughly. We're still in a sideways trading range. We still have quite a bit of downside, a little bit of upside as well, but still the current momentum is not that bullish, and it's not so easy to buy that bottom. So what am I doing in this current situation? I am hedging myself against potential further Ethereum declines. I believe that a lot of altcoins will also get pushed down by a potentially declining Ethereum price, because a lot of the liquidity in the altcoins is directly coupled with Ethereum. So when Ethereum goes down, a lot of altcoins go down as well. But at the same time, I keep my eyes very closely on the rumors around an Ethereum ETF. If we ever see that those kind of rumors heat up, then I will be very fast. I will be the first one to buy back in again, because that would definitely increase a lot of demand. That would definitely also push up the price, potentially also relative to Bitcoin. If it's the first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. There's also a free Telegram. Link is down below.